So, are you feeling stuck in a 9 to 5 job that drains you as a social worker? Well, let me tell you about the one thing that happened at my old job that finally pushed me over the edge. It literally finally helped me make a change in my life, I guess you could say. So, let's get into it. So, what I know for sure about social work is that these jobs will abuse you if you let them. Okay? So I had a job, and I'm pretty sure many of you can relate to this. I had a job, and a lot of these jobs are this way, especially in social work. And it's really weird because it's social work, and you would think, okay, these are going to be understanding people. They're supposed to be trauma informed. Um, Trauma informed. I would say these jobs are probably trauma informed when it comes to the clients, but honestly, when it comes to their social work staff, not so much. So if you have a job and you feel that they are trauma informed, I want you to go ahead and jump into the comments and tell me if your job abuses you or do they actually lift you up and support you. Now, there are a lot of great social work jobs out there. Like, I still work, right? Because I have a plan for my business. I have a plan for how I'm going to leave working and be full time in that business. And because I'm older, I'm like gonna be 50 next April. I have to do things a little differently because I want to ensure that I have all my Medicare points and all these things that are supposed to be safety nets when we get older that may or may not be there when I retire. But just in case it is, I want to be able to utilize those things because I went into business later in life. But if you're out there in your 20 something, early 20s, even late 20s, maybe even early 30s, that may not apply to you, right? You may not have to continue working when you're 5 years, 6 years into your business. But for me, not the case. So I still work. And my current job, I love it, right? I get to interact with politicians. I get to be out in the community. On this particular, with this particular position, I have 3 board seats that I hold out in the community. And so this is just great for me and I love it. But it wasn't always this way. Early on in my business, I was working at an agency, and let's just say the boss at this agency, for lack of a better terms, and YouTube might strike me for this, but for lack of a better term, she was a real asshole. And so it was this one day at work. Now, let me pull it back just for a minute. In my department, there were 4 of us. And between the 4 of us, we had to do community outreach. Now, typically, community outreach consisted of us tabling an event and just talking about the services that we provide to people who happen to pass through that event. Well, because there were 4 people in the department, we were supposed to rotate through this post of us tabling the event. Now, I had just tabled the event the week before. And actually, I think I had tabled that event like 2 or 3 weeks in a row because one of our other staff got sick and there were things that had popped up. But this particular week, I was supposed to be off because my coworker was there and she was supposed to do it. Now, my boss comes to me about noon, probably right before I was going on lunch. And she came and said, "Listen, your coworker, we'll call her Megan, not her real name, but we'll call her Megan. Megan says she doesn't want to go do the outreach table because it's too far away, and so you're going to have to do it." And so I looked at her. I was like, excuse me? Now, keep in mind, we're in Buffalo, New York. It was in January. There was a snowstorm going on, and the location was about an hour away. Now, it wasn't snowing to the point that we couldn't drive in it, right? As a Buffalonian, I can drive in like several feet of snow without a problem. But it was over an hour away. I would have needed to be there around 1:30. It was 12 o'clock. I was just about to go on lunch, which meant if I actually went to this event, I was going to have to go like prepare right then because I didn't have anything packed. Like, listen, it wasn't my week. So when she came to me, and it wasn't like, listen, it wasn't like Megan even had a valid reason. She just, I don't want to go. It's too far away. So anywho, um, she told me this, and so I was like, well, yeah, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. And so now let me back up with this. And my social workers who are watching this, I want your true, honest opinion. Now, this is going to divide some people, but even the profession of social work is racialized, right? As a black woman who has plenty of social work friends who are white and black, or I should say white and then of color, right? Because not all my social work friends who are of color are African American, right? Some of them are Puerto Rican. I have Asian friends who are social workers, and we have these conversations even with our white coworkers or fellow social workers who are our friends. And even they notice that a lot of the social workers of color are oftentimes treated differently in these agencies, right, that we go and work in as social workers. And so there is bias in the profession, right? And that is literally what was showing up at this particular job. Megan didn't want to go do it. I was the only black staff in this particular department, and they kept like putting it off on me. And so I just decided I was fed up and I was like, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. And so she was like, well, if you don't do it, so then she tried to threaten me with my job because she was like, if you don't do it, there will be consequences. Listen, I had really just, well, I hadn't really just started my business. Let me take that back. But comparatively speaking to where I am now, I had just started my business. I was only a couple of years in. I wasn't making a lot of money, but I was making some money. And so I knew when she was talking real reckless, right? She had a whole bunch of air in her chest. She had a battery in her back, like the Energizer Bunny. Yeah, she was really feeling herself. And she thought that threatening me with dire consequences in your job was going to be the thing that made me say, yes, I guess I'll go. I'll go since Megan doesn't want to go because it's so far out and she doesn't want to drive in the snow. I mean, I didn't want to drive in the damn snow. These people be wild, I swear. So in that moment, I decided, what are you going to do? Are you going to acquiesce to what she's telling you? And if I had done that, it would have gotten worse. Or are you just going to like stand your ground? And so I decided in that moment to stand my ground. And I told her, I said, look, I'm not doing it. And she started to say something. And I was like, you know what? I was like, save it. I was like, I quit. So then she stood there with her mouth hanging open and she had the nerve to say, well, you can't quit. Child, yes, I can. Who's going to stop me? I was like, who's going to stop me? So, needless to say, she was shocked as ever that the kid walked up out of there. And listen, I'm not about walking up out of any job and leaving something in somebody's lap to have to take care of, right? Because they're not prepared to fill my position at that time. That's just not what I want to do. But in the same hand, you know, don't force me to make that decision. And essentially, what I have found is a lot of these agencies, I'll go back to the beginning, they abuse social workers. And so I was lucky because I did have my business and it was able to support me until I found something better, some place that was going to value what I brought to their organization, right? And not try and use me and not try and, make it more comfortable for other employees and make it less comfortable for me. Or refer to me as their, what did they call it? Affirmative action hire. And these are other social workers that I was working with. So there's a couple of lessons from this story. One, don't be afraid to chase your dreams when it comes to your business, right? Because my business literally changed my life, even though I had to tighten up my belt when I left that job. even though it wasn't enough money coming in my business that allowed for me to have all this disposable income, it was enough for me to take care of my necessities, right? And sometimes we just have to tighten our belt. Sometimes we have to take 10 steps backwards to take 2 steps forward, right? If that makes any sense. I've never quite understood that saying, but sometimes it does make sense, right? In order to move forward, sometimes we have to step back, reassess, reacclimate, pivot, take a different direction. But I say all of that to say, oh, here comes my kitty. I say all of that to say that you don't have to stay in a job you hate. Because what happens is if you're trying to build your business, you're not going to be able to. It's going to take everything out of you, and you're going to come home from work and you're going to be way too tired. Even if you're not physically tired, you will be mentally tired, and you won't be able to pour into your own business that can eventually help you leave that job you hate. And really, that was like one of the decisions I was making that day. Am I going to do this? Or, because if I had did that, again, they would have just found new ways to use and abuse me. And it just would have left no time for myself. And furthermore, it definitely helped with my confidence in knowing that I could eventually step out of my job and take care of myself with my business, right? Because there's a difference between earning money and making money. And when you have a job, you are essentially earning money. You show up, you do these things, and you earn your pay. But when you know how to make money, that means that you know how to go out and get money that you're not earning, right? You might earn it through the things you do, right? So if I build a website, yes, I've earned that money. But the fact that I build websites and I can go out and sell that service is my ability to make money for myself without a third party involved, such as an employer group, right? And so your business is going to be so important to your livelihood, to your quality of life, to the fact that you'll be able to tell that job that you hate to kiss your entire ass. Okay. That was the most beautiful feeling because she really thought she had me. Like if you could have seen her face, she was like, well, if you don't, there are consequences. Anyway, um, yeah, she really thought she had me. So when I quit my 9 to 5, yes, was it scary? Very, very scary, right? But it taught me that I could, and it taught me how to get really scrappy with selling my services and making money. And that's when I really, really honed in on my skill set to sell, right? Because I had a lot of free time after I left that job. I was able to take the courses and read the books and do the things and really start to implement those skill sets. And I remember, like, right after I quit that job, probably about 2 weeks later, I got someone who reached out for a website build, and I charged $3,500 to start for a website. And this particular build was going to be $5,000 because of the additional things that they wanted. And I remember thinking, you know, luckily this price is great for me to only have to acquire one client per month. If I acquire one client per month at $3,500 for a website, and it takes me about 7 days to build the site after we do all the things. Typically, the process is about a month. So my cap is 3 people a month. I only built 3 websites a month. But my thought was if I could just get one person every month, I was okay. And I manifested that. I put it out there. I wrote it down that I was going to get one person per month to get a website built, that I was going to find at least one person to sell my services to. And I was able to do that, and I was able to sustain myself. So pricing is important because you want to price your services and or products in a way that can sustain you if they need to, and just having faith that you could do it. That was my big thing, was having faith that I could do it. And in that moment, in that moment when my supervisor really like pissed me off, That's what I did. I stepped out on complete faith, and I'm here to tell about it, right? And so while it was scary, and while you might feel like, oh, I could never, you can. By that point, I had positioned myself to be that way because I didn't want to be, being a teen mom and having to get a job as a teen mom and not having at the time any formal education or formal career trajectory. I had to take a lot of shit on jobs. I had to deal with stuff, and I couldn't just up jump the boogie and piece myself out back then because I had a kid to take care of, which meant like health insurance and all the things, right? And I remember as she started getting older, I started to position myself differently because I could. And I vowed that once she was old enough, right, that she could work and take care of herself and provide her own health insurance, that I was never going to let another job use and abuse me. And when I graduated from my social work program, I think she was well into her 20s, right? Because I've been out 6 years and she's 30. So she was well into her 20s by then. And so I wasn't responsible for her anymore. After I graduated, I was just responsible for me. And I had done a lot of things in the years that preceded that to position myself to where I could tell a job to kiss my whole entire ass if I needed to. And that particular day, I needed to. So if you're thinking about leaving your 9 to 5, I don't recommend just abruptly leaving your 9 to 5 unless they back you into a corner and you need to. But there's so many benefits to even having your own business part time. Just that part time money coming in because you never know when you'll need it and you never know how it's going to change your life. And really, mine changed my life so much because, again, it just gave me that confidence and that drive and the ability to say no, right? Being able to say no is so powerful, especially when people are trying to use you. And scared money don't make no money, right? And so I wasn't going to be scared. I had positioned myself, and you can too, right? So all of these videos that I post about how to start your business and all the things to do, they really are to help you get to that place where you can start your business and make money and be able to, walk off the job if you need to. Again, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. It's not something I would regularly do. But if you need to, you want to position yourself to do that. And really, in my opinion, this is not based in fact, but in my opinion, the best way to do that is to have a business of your own because you get to control how you make the money, right? So I hope this story has been helpful to someone who is out there struggling at their social work 9 to 5, right? I hope that you hear this message and it empowers you to know that yes, while it's scary to start your business and while you have no idea of what will happen as you take this journey, trust the journey and trust that you will be in a position at the right time in the right place when you need it and you can make a living for yourself without being used and abused as a social worker, without being overworked and underpaid. You might still be overworked in your business, but I promise, if you set the right prices, if you charge your worth, your skill set, the value you provide, baby, baby, you will be possibly overworked, but you will damn for sure not be underpaid, right? So that's all for this video. Thank you for watching to the end. If you made it this far, please be sure to like this video and share it with someone who might find it valuable. And remember, this upcoming next videos, I'm going to be really digging deep, doing deep dives and really detailed videos about how to start your business. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. And until next time, this is your girl Michelle saying, stop waiting. The time is now. Start your social work business. Bye for now.